Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Louise. Good morning, good morning. How are you today? Four of you, so I'm just gonna have to. I've just heard the door. Hang on one sec. Sorry about that. I had to go and get it. Grab a delivery. That had because obviously we're only here a couple of days a week. Morning, Christine. So it's all a bit. Ah, he was moaning at me because he came on Friday and we weren't there. But to be fair, I was here on Friday until 12:30, and then I had to go back, so I must have missed him. Right. Morning, Sue. I hope you're all doing all right. Anyway, good job for these classes, because at least we know what day it is, don't we? Does it help knowing what day it is? I don't know. Right, I'm just almost getting ready to plug my ears in for Discord. The colours are on the top of the screen. I'm going to try and do it with just 3 colours this morning. Obviously, don't forget, as is the tradition for the Monday mornings, wherever we are, wherever we may end up when this is all over. I'm out of breath now. My back is getting... Well, I committed a cardinal sin on Saturday. I tried to hoover the living room, and I've really hurt myself again. Not as bad as I was 2 weeks ago, and I was told not to, but I tried and failed and pained myself. So yeah, it's all right. I still don't need a stick or anything, but just the lower back, particularly when I'm asleep, is quite painful. But I'm all right. And I'm here, and I'm a lot more nimble than I was 2 weeks ago. So I've got to be grateful for that. It's just a slow thing, and I'm not a very good patient, and I'm extremely impatient. And I don't think that helps when you're trying to recover, does it really? But never mind. So I'm going to try and do it all with just cad red, cad yellow, and ultramarine today. Why not? I have to keep my ears open for Jackie in case I know there's a couple of online orders to get done today. I just spilt my tea over my picture. Make that 4 colours now. So yeah, it's just all one of those. It's all. I've got to listen out for the door because I've got quite a few parcels due this week, and I'm only going to be here a couple of days. Well, it seems to work out. Mondays, Wednesdays, Friday mornings we're here. Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, and it seems to fit in well with all the online stuff that we're doing. Right, let me jump onto Discord to see if anybody's there. There isn't anybody there, but I'm going to be there just in case anybody does turn up, because it's 10 past. Well, it's not. It's just, well, it's coming up to 10 past, isn't it? So you can see, although as a general guide, by the way, and I think I've probably said this before, I know I said it in another group, whenever I post a reference image that is square, I generally do it portrait. And the reason for that is because it means I can't second guess what's to the left or to the right of a picture. But I can second guess a sky. And I can make the sky whatever I want. Whereas if it's a scene, a specific place, one wrong move left or right, and it won't particularly look like that place, but I can do whatever I like with the sky. So generally when it's a square image, I always do it portrait. Hopefully that will help. Gauge reference images in the future. Right, at 10 past I'm going to start. I've got my hairdryer here because I'm not at home today, I'm at the shop. And it's you know, just trying to negate how everything is running at the moment. You know, work out the best course of action for the next 6 months. I like to have a plan. Even though this is an uncontrollable thing, I like to be in control of my world. So if I can give myself a 6-month plan, that tends to be why these classes are in 6-month blocks on our lists. If I can give myself 6 months, I can work towards something. I like to set goals and things like that. You see, it's short term. We've got to sort this classroom out because it is a postal room at the moment, and every table is covered with packaging and parcels and subscription box materials and supplies, and it's getting me down because it's a mess. But then we can't do it in the shop floor because the shop will be open before the classroom's open, you know. So it's very difficult to know how to juggle it because we don't have space. We don't have an extra room for packaging. There's an area out the back of the shop on the ground floor, but that leaks and it's cold and it's damp because it was outside, and it's only got a thin hardboard roof with a bit of roof felt on, so it's not the best thing for putting packaging materials or for putting spare stock. So that doesn't work. We've got the kitchen area, but the kitchen area is only 4 foot by 7 foot, and that's full already of other stuff that we can't fit in places, so we haven't got a designated room. So it's very, very difficult to know. I mean, I know we've got a good couple of months before the classroom will be open again once everybody's vaccinated, so it'll probably be turn Easter or beyond, between Easter and summertime, if hopefully maybe then. But for my visuals, I hate looking across the classroom and seeing it in such a mess and disarray. I mean, it's never been a tidy space anyway, but difficult. We are, Louise. Yeah, we've got them all on Shop Appy. January, I think we've got the next 3 months up. But you'll have to be quick for the January one, because I'll be taking it off online soon, and it'll be the February one because we're already like 18th of January. Alright, I'm going to start painting now. I don't think there's anybody on Discord. I'll stay on there for a bit. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wet my sky. Get me soggy squirrel. Load of water. Ooh, hello. That's alright. That's alright. I'm a bit light. I had to run downstairs and grab a delivery for myself. Might be your Wi-Fi, Sarah, if you got no sound. There should be sound. My speaker's doing its thing. Right, so loads of water, and then I'm gonna go. Good morning. I'm gonna cadmium yellow right at the top. and bring that down so it's stronger at the top. Facebook, can you all hear me? Is it just Sarah? Okay. Okay, that's cool. Because usually it's the sound's the first thing to go on if there's a weak wafty Wi-Fi. Right, so this is just cadmium yellow, and it's unusual because normally we'd have the yellow at the bottom, but in this photograph it's yellow at the top, which is quite nice. Good, thank you, Christine. It is lovely to have you with us. Thank you, Louise. I've now got Robert, Ann and Chris in my ear, so that's nice. And then I've not cleaned my brush. I've just gone in with some cadmium red in the sort of lower middle of the picture, and I'm going to brush that upwards. And add a little bit more red and go a bit further down. Now don't forget, obviously we say this all the time, watercolours dry 30% lighter, so we do have to allow. It depends how punchy you want this. Now I want a bit of a hazy mist, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a little bit of ultramarine into the red. So it goes a purpley grey. Then I'm going to clean my brush. And just have that running down to the very misty top layer that I am just going to drag all of that browny purple down a whole layer. Now you probably can't see that there is a thin pencil line there, because actually a lot of the paper is sort of, let me do that, it's sort of a purpley grey green. So if I mix a bit of red, a bit of blue and a tiny bit of yellow, not too sludgy, I need more blue, because it is kind of a frosty scene, isn't it? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add a very grey purple wash, and then as I come down I'm going to add a little bit more red to it. For two reasons. One, it is like that in the photograph, and two, that little extra bit of red will bring it closer to us, and it will sort of like show that the snow is reflecting off the sky as we would expect it to. I've been leaning on this paper, I never learned my lesson. So basically we've got the sunset, then we've got this sort of grey purple area that I've brought down, and then I've mixed a purpley browny grey colour more to the blue, and then as I've come down it's gone more pinkish. So I'm just going to get the hairdryer on that for a sec, because this is a demo. Got to remind myself this is a demo, not a class. Very subtle here, you wouldn't really know down the bottom when it dries that I've done much, and I don't want much. Oh, you might be interested in what I've been experimenting with, Chris. I was looking at ways, because I can't have like multiple laptops all over the house when when I'm doing my classes, one thing, but when I'm doing like singing streams and stuff like that, I use my phone mainly, but obviously you don't get the sound directly into it. It uses the phone microphone, which isn't always great. And I was looking up some stuff, and there's something called an iRig. Have you heard of one of those? And what it does is, and you can use it if you've got an electric, a guitar with a plug as well. It's like a little, almost like a little mini MP3 player. It's sort of like 2 or 3 inches wide by 3 or 4 inches long, and you can plug your microphone into it, your mixing desk into it, your guitar into it, and it comes with the iRig Stream comes with 3 different leads, one for an iPhone, one for a laptop, and one for something else. So it means that you can switch it to, because iPhones and mobile phones are mono rather than stereo, so you can switch it to mono and stereo, and it should click in. So you could record you doing your guitar, for example, on your iPhone, sort of notes section or something, or for live streams and all that kind of stuff. So it's quite interesting. So I've ordered it, but it hasn't arrived yet for me to test it out. But it's not cheap, but because it's multifaceted and I can use it with a computer or a phone or something else, it seems really interesting. So when I do a live stream, hopefully, if it works, you'll get the sound as if you're listening to sort of like a CD or something, because the music and vocals will be coming directly through that. Obviously, I don't need to do that with the class, but sometimes when I'm doing a live stream, the backing tracks are quite muffled because they're quite away from the speaker kind of thing. So it'll be an interesting thing to try. I was chatting to Kevin about it, and he sent me a really good YouTube review from someone about it, and they seemed thrilled with it. So it's worth a try, because I've got a Zoom, I've got a WI sing-along Zoom on Thursday night. So I've got Chacum WI, I think it's Chacum WI booked me to do a sing-along Zoom with them, which will be quite nice. Well, it's just all they're all from home, so we'll all just log on to the WI Zoom account, and well, I do know how to live, Robert. It's exciting times, that's for sure. But it could be the way forward for quite a while, so it's nice to look at different ways of doing it, because it'll be my first actual paid gig since Valentine's Day last year, because obviously I lost all of it because of lockdowns, multiple various ones, and not being able to sing indoors. So that's the tricky thing. Right, I've mixed oh, do you know what? It needs to be a bit more blue. And this is going to be almost non-existent and very misty. Very misty background trees. Now, obviously, if it's not misty enough when you painted it, you can always use a bit of chalk and what have you. But I want it so I can barely see it anyway. And I'm just doing some wobbly lines and maybe the hint of some trees. I do have to remember that it will dry lighter, but as I say, it does. I know I've never told you that before. Maybe that's where I've been going wrong. But yeah, actually, believe it or not, watercolours do dry 30% lighter. I don't know what I'll do if ever science changes and they find out it dries 36% lighter or something like that. I don't know. I'll probably cry. Right, so this is just sort of like not quite dry brush, but it just gives me that sort of layering right at the very, very back. I think there is a hint of another bush layer type thing here, but again, just soft. Keep it more bluish at the back, and then we'll see if we can go a bit more strong and browner towards the front. Have you got your sound back, Sarah, now? And then you see I can use the same colour here. A little bit stronger. So when I say stronger, it's basically more paint, less water. A bit of a... They're not capital Y shapes and they're not V's. They're just lots of little wonky sticks that I'll then go with this stronger purple a little bit more dabby over, because they're far away and they're sort of in the mist. So I don't want too much, and I want to keep that layering, and that is wet still, so I can't really go up there and do the other trees, which I want to do. So each subsequent layer I'm going to go a little bit darker with, but because the light's coming from the back and these are sort of like rolling hills getting lower towards us, so we're on a lower plane, the light will be fading. I can show you how to do that actually. Let me use my number 4 round and pinch a bit of this colour. Now I'm just going to put a little bit on the base of that lower land area. I don't want it to be too dry brush. And then I'll move upwards, so it's sort of like a slightly darker line for each layer, because we want it a little bit frosty or snowy, so we don't want, again, we don't want a lot there. But we can do that with each layer, so it goes up to nothing. You could, I suppose, if you were struggling with wet in wet or dry brush, you could wet the whole each section and drop the colour in at the bottom and let it just sort of ride up. That would work in the same way, but because we've just got so many layers here, I'll just do these 3. Picked up a little bit. I've got some yellow snow there. That's never good. That must be where someone's just taken their dog for an early morning walk. So hopefully you can see we've got some layering. I think I need to make a slightly stronger purple really, because I've diluted that to within an inch of its life. That might be too strong, which is usually the way. Because it's just remembering that each layer has to be treated separately and independently, and oh good, I'm glad you have. And it's just finding ways to do that. It's hard. I remember I had, when I was 14, the deputy head of my high school commissioned me to do a view from her house of the rolling hills and woods and that kind of thing, and she wanted one in summer and one in spring, and I only painted in oils then, and it was so hard in the summer to get the variety of greens, because I didn't really know colour mixing back then. Well, you don't, do you? I knew how to make some greens, but because it was oils, it was getting sludgy and it wasn't great. The snowy one was slightly better because it was white, but you've got the divisions of the hills and the boundaries. So sometimes it's you've got to learn to look at what you've got and work out how you can treat each sort of layer separately. If I'd have done that with those trees that she where she lived, I'm sure I'd have done a better job, but I didn't have an art teacher as amazing as me. So I didn't get taught anything. I don't really think I was taught colour mixing at all. other than extremely basic red, yellow, blue are the primaries, and then orange, purple, and green are the secondaries. Mix them all together, you'll get a sort of sludgy brown. That was about the level of it. I was never taught any colour theory or anything, which I have to say there are some high schools out there now, and I think Chenderrit locally is one where they do really excel in colour theory and colour knowledge, so that the next generation of artists will understand a lot more than I was ever taught. No, just the very basic colour wheel. It's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, it's kind of a when you anything to do with art, all art is the right colour in the right place in the right shape, isn't it? Basically, and it depends whether you're doing an abstract, which is still applicable, or whether you're doing a portrait or whatever. So the thing that it all hinges on is the colour, and yet it's the one thing that isn't taught properly in mainstream, because it's always assumed that you already know. And I think there's a lot of assumption in teaching art that people already know a lot of stuff, and they don't want to make you feel like you're stupid or talk down to you. I've never had any problem with that. I treat everybody like I treat everybody like I did, that I knew nothing, and I'd like to know how to do it. Because it's the only way you ever find out, isn't it? Because if you keep presuming people know stuff, you're going to end up where nobody knows anything. And then you get one, well, it happens politically and all over the world, doesn't it? Because that happens, and then you post a meme on Facebook, and then people will believe that because they don't know any different. So it's sort of it's quite interesting with everything. If you keep presuming that people don't that people already know, but then the skillies don't treat them like imbeciles if they don't actually know. Yes. Well, do you know, exactly, when I do a lot of art history lectures, that's what scares me, is that I remember going, I'm using the same colour, a little bit darker, number 4 round for the next layer. I remember I was in, where was I? Amersham and Chesham Way, in a beautiful old Victorian school that's now a community centre. And I'm in the lecture theatre, and it's a really cold Victorian space with a fireplace in the corner and all of this kind of thing. But it has got tiered seating, and I'd got 30 or 40 people that had come to listen to an art history lecture on, I don't know, I did a few there, Pre-Raphaelites or Art Nouveau, and I was petrified. What if they know more than me? But then equally, there'd be some that knew nothing at all. But there were some that used to like sitting on the front row because they did know it all, and they used to love to correct me, or go, oh well, when I've actually been there, and I've and I used to think, why are you here? Because clearly you're not here to learn. Are you here just to validate your intelligence, or make somebody feel rubbish about themselves? Because there really is no point in you being there if you already know it all. And I don't like those kind of people, because even if you did know it all, you could just sit a bit quietly and look enthusiastic, because it's not easy when you get up and teach and lecture to a large group of people, is it? You see, I still get really nervous. 25 years I've been doing it, and I still get nervous, and it's I'm fine. Like in here, this is my classroom, so I don't really care. But if I've got to go somewhere to a totally different group, or a WI group, or anywhere, that's where the fear really kicks in, because you just don't know what to expect, isn't it? It's that fear of the unknown more than anything else. but it's still, I still be doing it, but I just get used to the nerves. Apparently, I was reading a psychological thing, and it was saying that if you suffer with anxiety, that there's basically no difference in your body to anxiety or excitement. So if you feel anxious, if you can convince yourself you're excited about something rather than anxious, it changes your whole perception. You still feel the same, but it almost calms you mentally, because you don't feel scared, you feel excited. So I'm going to have to start doing that when I get anxious about everything. But I think a little bit of fear is good. Because I was watching that, I think I hired it on YouTube. It was just, I can't remember what it was called, but it's when the Dames Came to Tea, and it's basically Judi Dench, two others, and Maggie Smith, and they're all best mates in real life, and they all just hang around at each other's houses, and it's where they just have a cup of tea together and chat about their history and their life and all of that kind of thing. And Judi Dench and Maggie Smith both said that they still, I mean, they're in their 80s now, aren't they? They still get nervous and scared on the film sets, because it's new to them. It's a new producer. It's a new way of working. You just don't think of that, do you? When you see these people on the stages or on the screen, you don't think that they're human in a way, that they still feel scared because they're so good at what they do. So I've just darkened a little bit of the snow behind the trees, because, as I say, the light is coming from behind, sort of. I want it coming from there, but it's a low light, so there's not really a huge amount to have, but it's almost like this next layer is a little bit mistier anyway. Right, let's go with ultramarine and cadmium red again. The foreground layer I want to make more of a brown, and I'll show you how to do that. But so I'm going a little bit stronger with each layer, but remember, if you go too strong, the layer right at the front with the trees on is going to have to be really strong. So I'm mixing a colour, and then when I put it on, I'm sort of gauging whether it's too strong, and then adding more water to it to allow it to soften. Now I want sort of gaps in this section, so we can run through. I should have a gap there really. I might lift a bit out in the wall. Let me do that now, and I'll explain why. The farmers will tell me off for making all of these holes in the wall. Right. Absolutely, a bit of pastel on the end if it works a treat. Mutes it beautifully. It's a shame you can't really do that in acrylics, isn't it? Because it just, the pastel doesn't stick to acrylics. You have to use a runny glaze of acrylics, which if you go too strong, it's too much. Whereas with chalk, you can dab it off and what have you. Right, so we've got sort of an embankment of trees here. Now, let's just bring that up. Sort of dry brushed, not totally. We'll go a little bit higher. There are probably trees in this middle section, but I'm not going to put them in. A little bit darker right at the base. Now, what I've done intentionally now, because I've just lifted them out, you saw me, I'm just making little gaps in the through the wall, not in a straight line, and there's going to be one there and one there, but the tree's going to cover that, and then I might do another one here. And basically what I want is, I want it so the eye of the viewer can roam freely through the scene. Whereas if I mean, in real life, the walls are there, aren't they, to stop the sheep from wandering out and all of that kind of thing. But visually, it blocks each section. So I've gone with a little bit more pink this time, and I'm just going to drag this across. Not too much red, because it'll look like there's been a massacre in the paddock. So reddy purple. A little bit of texture. I will do this in the foreground as well. And then let it dry, so I can put the other layer on. Blue, but not much. I just need to soften that a little bit, so I'm just going to put a bit of extra water on just to soften the edges and lines. It was getting a bit too scratchy. That'll do. Okay. Do you know what I'm also going to do? I am going to lift out another bit there. There we go, so we can go right the way through to every section. I'll get the hairdryer on that. So because we've gone darker with each layer, you can see that the very, very background trees that I put on have almost disappeared. Which is good. I might use this colour just to give the hint of some sort of structure of trees or branches or something in here. Again, we don't want anything to be too dominant because the foreground is the dominant section. And we've got two trees that are going to be slightly darker than everything else and a little bit of a different colour. Do you reckon we'll have any heavy snow around here? Because we seem to have avoided all of it, haven't we? We tend to get it around about March, April time. I know I've said this before. I think the only times I've had to cancel a Monday morning class at Great Borden has been on apart from that one time we had a really heavy snow just before Christmas. The rest of the times have been in end of March, early April. Because I can remember having to wait for the snowplow to come and dig my lane out. Just going back a few years. Right, well, I need to make a sort of brownish purple, and it's much easier than you think. I'm going to make a purple. Red and blue, sort of equal amounts, probably more to the red. Now this is where your knowledge of colour mixing and the colour wheel comes in, because to make a brown you use complementary colours, or to dull a colour down you use complementary colours. So the complementary opposite to purple is yellow on the colour wheel, and when you add some of that, it will go more of a brown colour. If you add too much, it will go very brown. But it's a really good indication. If it starts to go more green than brown, then you've got too much blue. If it starts to go orange, you've got too much red. But it doesn't matter if it goes more orange, I suppose. It's a bit too wet. I'm trying to layer a hedge here. A little bit of a hedge there. I think we'll have two ways into these fields. So it is just bouncy, and because this is darker, it's so close to the front. That's what we're after. So I'm going to work on my trees. They're probably not going to be as misty as they are in the photograph, just 'cause. When you look at the size of the tree, in terms of the rest of the picture, it actually comes right the way up to about here, the top of the branches. So you don't have to be too worried that you're going a bit carried away with it all. Just remember to make it so your branches attach to the tree properly and they wouldn't just snap off in the breeze. It's very easy to stick lots of little twiggy things on, but then realise at the end that you've got to do a lot of thickening. So some of these branches I'm going to go up, some of them I'm going to go down. Basically, the only reason I'm going down in some is because it helps me with the flow, because I can't pivot my page because it's stapled to the table. If I was doing this in real life, I would be swiveling it, really. I've got to sort of deliberately crop the trees and cheat a little bit so they don't block the doorway, the gateways. And that is cheating. But you know, it's we're doing the creative version of Photoshop with all of the artwork that we do. We're doing a windmill in acrylics next week. Lots of blues and pinks and whites. Should be nice. Will I do it in 45 minutes? That's the thing. I'm trying to work out, because obviously the shop's not open, I'm not here for 9 o'clock anymore. as a general rule. So my sort of waking habits have drastically changed. In fact, since my back and everything, I've not been getting to sleep till nearly 1 o'clock each morning. So what I've got to start doing is making sure that I've got the reference image on my phone, so I can post the colours and everything before I leave my house, to save me having to try and race down here by 9 o'clock to get the reference image posted and the colours up, because that was my struggle this morning. I need to send Janice an email just to see how she's doing, because she's not been very well at all. This is a much straighter tree. Yeah. But I'm going to have to do something in the foreground, and I think I'm going to have to dull it down even more with some of this brown, because it's looking just a very... Now I've put these colours on this sort of brown tone, it's looking quite flat. And you do have to balance when you're doing stuff like this on your colours. Am I doing too much, too little, not enough? Does it work? And for me, just looking at it, it's not working in the foreground. But we haven't got there yet. I'll get there. Got 5 minutes to do it in my 45. I kind of like the challenge on a Monday to try and do it in 45. Keeps me on my toes. The sky's too strong in yours, or the background trees? So a bit of pastel would be fine on there, wouldn't it? When it's totally dry, put a bit of chalk on there, you'll be fine. It's blue. Is it Blue Monday today? Blue Monday was that last week, which is sort of like the most saddest day of January, where people get all of their credit card bills and whatever. But to be honest, I think after the 12 months we've all had, a high credit card bill is hardly the worst bit, is it, at the moment? It is difficult to spend money at the moment. It is. I saw a video that somebody had posted where they found out how they could check how much they've spent with Amazon forever, They were American, and they said, "Oh, we only ever buy a couple of things every now and again." And it worked out since 2012 they'd spent £28,000 on Amazon just on bits really that they probably didn't need, and they just did not realise. They said, "No wonder Jeff is very wealthy, because you just don't realise how much you spend a couple of quid here, a couple of quid there." Obviously, I try to support eBay more than anything because it tends to be a lot smaller. However, with Amazon, you do have a lot of small businesses with an Amazon account as well. So the downside of Amazon is you try to support a small business, but you are lining Mr. Bezos' pocket at the same time. I like eBay. I use Hive for books, because you can, with Hive, you can give a donation to your local bookshop, or localish. Yeah. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a couple of little flicks down here over the dry brush using the same brown colour, just to give me a little bit of foreground. Well, I'm just going to quickly let Jackie in, and then I will run back up and finish off. So, back in a sec. I keep meaning to bring a plane to file that floorboard down. I'll do that another day when I can kneel. Right, do you know what? I don't think I'm going to do any more to this. I think I've got the layers, and it seems to work. The slightly darker foregrounds made me feel a little bit happier. And a couple of the flicks. Thank you. It's nice using just 3 colours as well, isn't it? Just to see how far you can get with what you can do. We haven't needed any greens, so I can quickly show you the reference image for next week. Let me just, because I've printed it off. It's Thurn Mill, Norfolk, but we know we're doing it in pencil next week. And this is it. You'll see it, those of you on Discord, you'll see it in a second. It'd be quite nice in pencil. You could add some colour at a later point if you need to. Thank you, Christine. Yeah, I thought you'd like that. Yeah, on Wednesday, on next Monday. Next Monday is we're doing that in pencil. So coming up this week is tonight is painting puddles. Tuesday evening is snowdrops in acrylics. Wednesday afternoon is an aloe vera plant. Now that is a sort of close-up of a section of aloe vera, so it'll be quite challenging. Thursday morning is a winding woodland path in acrylics. Thursday afternoon, a couple walking in the rain in monochrome. Friday afternoon, Stormy Sea against Rocks in Watercolour. That's quite a nice one to do. And then Friday morning is art history on Discord, and we're doing about Neolithic art. And that's 10 till 12. And then Saturday morning is a free full class on brush pen calligraphy, because it's National Handwriting Day, and I thought what a good way to celebrate National Handwriting Day with a calligraphy class. So it's brush pen calligraphy. And then next Monday, as I say, it's the Thurn Mill, Norfolk, in pencil. So lots coming up this week. Thank you so much for your company. I will of course take a photograph of this and post it in the reference, under the reference image. And I'm sure I'll be seeing some of you on Wednesday, or some of you on Tuesday evening, or some of you on Friday afternoon. So have a really good week. Stay safe. It's nice to see that the numbers are coming down. They're over half now that they were 2 weeks ago in our area, which is sort of comforting. Still really bad, but still comforting. Yeah, that things are moving in the right direction. I think it must have been a spike over Christmas and New Year, which was expected. But yeah, stay safe. Enjoy the week ahead. I don't know what weather. I think we've got lots of rain and all sorts to come this week. So we've got a melee of weather. Probably a bit of snow as well, but never mind. Thank you very much anyway. Take care. Have a great week. See you soon, everybody. Bye bye.